Okay. Okay, what is the manpower? Manpower is nothing but the human resource that is required for the organization. And when we are talking about the human resources that is required for the organization, there are different levels of resources and different technical knowledge, non-technical, leadership position. So there is a variety of resources that would be required. And the resource planning or the manpower planning, the earlier you saw, like first we define all the job and what kind of a job are required to be performed in a particular organization, and based on that we will look for the manpower. So, and manpower is not like just one instance of hiring people. It is a continuous process, and there is a proper planning required, because without manpower, whatever the resource, rest of the resources, rest of the organization is pretty much, it is like useless. You cannot do anything without the required manpower. So manpower is the most important thing, and we have to plan the manpower in such a way that there is no disruption. Okay, so in whether it is a production, whether it is a sales, any kind of a activity, there should not be disruption because of the changes in the human resources. So for that we require a manpower planning. Manpower planning is the process by which firm ensures that it has the right kind of people and the right number of people. Both right kind and the right number, both are important, and they are at the right places and at the right time, doing the work for which they are economically most useful. So this is the timing. All those things are very, very important. With respect to IT industry, like let us say a certain company, they win a project. Okay, when the project is about to start, they have to think about how they will get the resources, the right kind of resources, and at the right time. Maybe at the beginning, when the project is about to start, they may not require developers. So a lot of planning activity will be involved. So we need managers, architects, business analysts who will understand that. And at the later time, you will require different kinds of resources, developers, okay, testers, okay, administrators, database administrators, things like that. That is the timing. From this definition, it is clear that the manpower planning is a vital tool in the hands of management to control labor costs by avoiding both shortages and surpluses of the personnel in an organization. So we have to make sure that there is it should be planned in such a way that neither we have a shortage nor resources are in surplus. Because if it is a shortage, then some of the work will get impacted. If it is a surplus, then it is a waste of resources. Like you are paying extra for the resources which are not required. So it has to be optimum. In large organization, this function is performed by the personnel department. So there will be a personnel department who will take care of this thing. First one is the right kind of the people. The process of manpower planning begins with a decision on right kind of people. When you talk about the right kind of the people, first you have to define the job. You have to come up with a specification, a job description, what are all the things that are required. When you have the job description, then only you can say whether particular person with his profile, whatever the work he has done, experience he has achieved, the qualifications you have, then only you can match with the job description, and you can say whether it's a best fit or not, whether he is a right kind of a person or not. In order to be able to determine the qualifications needed to meet the requirement of the job, the organization first of all to analyze the jobs, write job description, and prepare job specification. So if you are like if you are looking the ads, job requirements, they will provide a something called as a job description and sometimes job specification. Job description is like it gives a overall picture, and job specification is very specific, what are the different tasks that a person needs to carry out. So that company has to think, and it has to put that particular description as well as the specification. Job analysis is the process by means of which description is developed. So job analysis is nothing but you develop the description of the present methods and procedure of doing a particular job. So there are two types of planning. One is called as short-term manpower planning and the long-term manpower planning. So always the short term is with respect to the time, right? Long term is with respect to the time. Normally, short-term planning is done for a period of like less than 2 years. It could be for a period of 6 months. Means you are foreseeing you will require certain resources of this skill for next 6 months. So you will hire that. So those planning which are spanning less than 2 years, those are called as a short-term planning. Okay, so this planning relates to period of 2 years or less and is done to find temporary match between the existing individuals and the existing jobs. Long-term manpower planning, it goes beyond 2 years, 2 to 5 years. So long-term planning, when we talk about that, is like you have to forecast what kind of resources or the manpower you will need in in terms of 2 to 5 years. For example, let us say a certain company, it is making inroads into data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, which is totally new area for it. So then they will have a plan, and let's say down 2 years or 3 years, they will require so many resources with a particular kind of knowledge. So they work on either training the internal resources, or they will plan in such a way they could be able to hire such people in a time frame of 2 to 5 years. So here important is the forecast. This is done by making forecast. Forecast of future manpower demand and supply can be made for a period of 2 to 5 years. And beyond 5 years, it's not really reasonable to visualize what kind of a manpower you will require after 5 years. So normally it is done in the period less than 5 years. And short-term planning. Okay, so what are the short-term planning? What it involves? It aims at a quick removal of anomalies in postings and placements. Anomalies is like something is not right. Okay, in some kind of postings, some kinds of jobs that are being done. So what we do is the following steps are involved in this kind of a planning. First step is to identify the weak and strong incumbents. So always like when we have resources, there are certain resources who are really good, and there are certain resources who are weak in doing particular job. The first step is to identify who is weak and who is strong. The weak incumbents are those whose skills fall short of their job requirement, and who are strong incumbents whose skills exceed their job requirement. So whatever the job requirement is there, certain people they just fall short of that. They will not be able to do that particular job uh, up to the whatever the requirement it has, and certain people they go beyond it. So they are a very strong incumbents who exceed the job requirements. So we will have two kind of people, and once you identify two kind of people, the second step is to set the above anomalies. So these are the anomalies, right? In case of a weak incumbents, this can be done by, so what we can do, suppose somebody is weak, what we can do is assigning difficult parts of their jobs to others. So this is a temporary measure. Most of the time it is used as a temporary measure. You are required to perform that particular job. If something is difficult, it is assigned to somebody, or somebody will be guiding you. Normally what happens in the IT industry, when you join the projects, okay, after your college you are very fresh, you have acquired all the knowledge, but you don't have the experience. So you join the projects. Okay, they will if required, they will retrain you, and they will put you on the projects. The projects are the live projects where you need to do some kind of a work. So initially, being a fresher, there will be a lot of a guidance. The team will understand that, so they will handhold you along all the tasks. That is how you will learn. So this, the example I gave is not a weak incumbents. This is a fresh incumbents, we can say. let us say after in spite of 1 year, if you are not able to pick up the task, then it is viewed as a performance appraisals will be done. Based on the performance appraisal, they will come to know who is the weak incumbents. What are the other measures that are taken? Improving them through a short-term training or counseling. So they will give a some kind of a training or counseling if the skill is not the problem. If there is some other problem which is impacting his work, normally counseling is done. They try to solve his problem so that he is able to perform his job to the full requirement. The last resort would be replacing them by other individuals. The final step is to think of a person who can be given additional charge of posting falling unexpectedly vacant due to sudden death, resignation, or transfer of the original incumbent. The final step is if somebody is very strong, is going beyond the job requirement. If there is any opportunity of any additional charge or the post, uh, the strong incumbents will be considered for such a post. So long-term manpower planning, long-term, as I said, forecast is a very important key here. You need to forecast what kind of a manpower you would require in the range of from now to like beyond 2 to 5 years. So when you are seeing that kind of a forecast, with respect to that, you will make a plan. Forecasts of future manpower demand and supply can be made for a period of 2 to 5 years. If the periods selected are too long, it is difficult to have an accurate manpower forecast in view of the inability to predict effectively the likely changes in the economic, social, and technological sphere. So these are the influencing factors when we are going like beyond 2 years. Even beyond 2 years, there will be a lot of changes. There will be changes in the economy, the government policies. The government might change, technological changes would be there. So you're considering all those things. Having an accurate long-term planning is very, very difficult. So you can see here, it is like we have a human resource demand forecast. They are forecasting the demand, how much demand will come up. Then human resource supply. So it's a demand and it's a supply. They are visualizing, forecasting the demand, and similarly they are working on the plan to supply those resources. And what are the three different situations that can occur? Demand is equal to supply. So whatever is the demand of the organization, sufficient resources are recruited, and their organization is getting them. So here action plan is for right sizing. So it is the right size we have. The other cases is like if demand is less than the supply, then we have there is no demand, right? The demand is only for 10, but we have 100 resources available. So that is a surplus. In that time, what the action plans are: premature retirement, discharge, layoff, okay, attrition, outplacement, reduced work hours. So some of the organization you must have heard. One of the best example is the BSNL. Earlier it was a postal and telecom organization. So they were related with all the telecommunication. With the advent of new technology, their older resources, the people who are working, their knowledge was like it is very difficult to retrain them or move them ahead with the latest technology. So that time what they will do is they will give some like a premature retirement, voluntary retirement, some options they will give, so that they can reduce that particular workforce. And other means are laying off, okay, then attrition, outplacement, reducing the number of work hours, things like that. When demand is more than the supply, so then we call it as a shortage. So we require for example, in the case of data science area, the prediction is that there is going to be a huge demand but there is going to be a shortage because the number of people getting trained on the data science area are very, very less. So you have to think such areas where there is a huge demand, okay, and you can get into that. Okay, that is for like how you see your future, how you when you start working. So you should be constantly looking for the technologies which are in the demand. Okay, so in such organization, this is a respect to the human resources. Requirement is more, they need more people but they have less people, so shortage. You plan for the recruitment, overtime, benching. Recruitment, if resources are available, you will recruit. If resources are not available but work is more, you will increase the number of hours, and then you do the benching. Benching, to understand with IT industry, benching is a concept where certain resources who are not on the active projects, so they are said to be on the bench. When you are working for the IT industry, you have to be in a project. Okay, you should be working on an active project. If you are not working on an active project, that is, that means you are on the bench, means you will be with the HR, you will not with the any particular project. Some companies, they have the benching period. Okay, let's say 2 months, 3 months, they keep the resources because rehiring such resources is very difficult. So they keep the bench and they look out for the project for this particular resources, and within that time frame they will find it. And some companies, they have a zero benching policy. What is the meaning of that? Once you are out of the project, you are released from the project, there is no bench. Either before you are released from one project, you have to proactively find another project within the organization, or you will be laid off. That is how it works. Recruitment. So what is the recruitment? Once we have the requirement for the manpower, okay, then the process of recruitment starts. What is the process of recruitment? Getting the right kind of resources to apply. Okay, first is you planned what are the different requirement. You have manpower requirement, whether it is a short term planning or the long term manpower planning. Once you have that requirement of the manpower, then you will start the recruitment process. Recruitment process is what? Making all the people to apply for the job. It can be defined as the process of identifying the sources of prospective candidates and to stimulate them to apply for the jobs. So finding the right kind of people and stimulating them to apply. So if you have seen in our college, whenever one of the source of recruitment is the campus recruitment. So many companies come to the campus for the recruitment. They post ads here. We encourage the students to apply for those jobs. So that's a recruitment process. In other words, recruitment is the generating of applications or applicants for specific positions. The management should have a proper plan of recruitment regarding the quantity and quality of the personnel required and the time when it is needed. So management will, they come for the recruitment, they will have a exact number in mind. Okay, and what kind of what quality people they want to recruit. All those things will be in their plan when they come for the recruitment. The process of recruitment and the cost involved depends on the size of the undertaking and the type of persons to be recruited. The cost involved in the recruitment, it depends on what kind of a recruitment they are doing. They are doing campus, they are traveling, how many resources are coming here, and effectively how many people they have recruited, whether they are asking people to come to their organization, so that time the cost will reduce, or they are making the recruitments online. Nowadays the recruitments is online, so the cost will depend on various factors. So we have different sources of recruitment. The sources of recruitment can be either the internal or the external. Internal is what? We have an organization. Inside the organization, there are a lot of resources. That is one way of recruiting, and the other way is outside the organization. Internal sources refer to the present working force of a company. So present working force, they can have a referral program, they can have their relatives joining in the company. So these are the means for the internal sources. vacancies offer then the lowest level may be filled by selecting a individuals from amongst the existing employees of the company. So if there is a any post, if there is a, let's say, manager post is vacant, they can consider the strong incumbents, and they can groom them, and they can make them for particular that position, so that it is a internal transition. Sources of recruitment. Among the more commonly used external sources are the following. External sources are re-employing former employees. Okay, that is one way. Friends and relatives of our present employees. Applicants at the gate. So internal is only the movement of the internal employees, like either you are promoting them or changing their job responsibilities. Those are the internal recruitment. External is everything outside the existing employees. So employing the former employees, friends and relatives of the employees. Application at the gate. Application means which whoever is approaching the organization. Mainly this term is with respect to the manufacturing. So manufacturing, you see a lot of applicants going to the physical premises of those factories and applying for the job. College and technical institutions, that's a campus recruitment. Employment exchanges, so a lot of employment exchanges are there, employment bureaus are there, so they will be another source of recruitment. Advertising the vacancy, so this is the now social media, through social media, through other means, they do the advertisement of their jobs, and they will get the applications. Labor unions. Labor unions also form as a another a source of recruitment, where they are working with the laborers, and they will know a lot of labor. If there is any person who needs a job, so those people can be a good resource for the organization. When we are talking about the sources, we have to evaluate those sources. I told you, when we are evaluating the sources, this is constantly checked. What is the meaning of evaluation of the resources sources is, for example, let us say campus recruitment and our college. So it is one source of recruitment. When a company comes for the recruitment, and let us say every time they come here, they hire like let's say 50 to 60 people, and those 50 to 60 people working in that organization, uh, they are doing very good, they are good at their work, and they are sticking with the company, let's say 5 to 6 years, and they are showing good results. So this will have a positive evaluation. So when they look at this campus recruitment, this particular source, that is our college, this source is very fruitful for them. They are getting good resources, and the resources are with the organization for a relatively longer term, and they are very productive. So they evaluate this as a very good source. Let us say there is some other college where they are recruiting 100 people, but once they recruit, within like 6 7 months, a lot of people are leaving, performance is good. So the chances of, when they do the evaluation, the other college having such kind of a problem, they will be evaluated less, and the organization can, based on its evaluation, it can decide whether to go for that particular source or not. So that is the whole meaning of the evaluation of the sources. A company cannot fill all its vacancies from one single source. Okay, it must carefully combine some of the sources, weighing their cost and flexibility, the quality of the men they supply, and their effect on the present workforce. So that is very important factors. When they are finding some sources, they won't recruit everybody from only one source. They will go for different sources. They evaluate those sources. Whichever is the best source, they will try to recruit from there. Following are some of the measures which can be used to assess how good and poor various sources have proved to be. One is like time lag between the requisition and the placement. What is the meaning of that? Company says like I need these many resources, and how much time that particular resource will take to respond back for the placement. So that is the time lag. That is one evaluating factor. recruitment ratio, that is number of persons actually hired per 100 applicants. Let us say they are going to a certain source, and there are 1,000 applicants, but they are not able to recruit even 10 people. So they will avoid such, because out of 1,000 they are able to recruit only 10. So it is a lot of cost is incurred when they do the recruitment. If there is a not requirement ratio is very poor, they will not go for such sources. Employee attitude study to discover the reaction of present employees, both external, internal recruiting, correlation between different sources of recruitment and factors of success on the job. So correlation between the different sources, and just to check whether that sources are good or not. Data on turnover, grievances, disciplinary action, tabulated according to different sources of recruitment to throw light on relative merits of each resource. So they will use different factors to evaluate. So grievances, disciplinary actions taken, things like that, all contribute to the evaluation of the particular source. Gross cost per hire. This is arrived by dividing the total cost of recruitment by number of individuals hired. So they will also look at the gross cost per hire. So if I told you example 1,000 people, out of that they get only 10, and let us say they have spent let's say 2 lakhs on that. So it will be divided, whatever the amount total cost 2 lakhs divided by 10. So around 20,000. So that is the cost of hiring. So they will look into that also. So comparison between the internal and external sources from the point of view of its impact on motivation, recruitment from external sources is not desirable. If you see from the motivational factor, external sources are not desired, because internal, whenever you transition the internal resource, they will get motivated. On the other hand, when internal candidates are too advanced in age, it may become imperative for the management to tap outside sources for recruitment. So I give the example of BSNL. So there were aging human resources that has to be replaced. There is no other way to transition them. So in that case, the outside sources are important. The need for originality and initiative may also determine this policy. So when you want to have new people coming with the new ideas, you will have the resources that are from external. Advantages of advantage and disadvantage of internal and external, we'll see that. A sense of security develops in case of internal. Employees remain loyal. People recruited from within the organization, they don't need the induction program, because they are already aware of the company. They don't need retraining. Employees in lower ranks are encouraged because they are transitioned. They will feel happy. Labor turnover is reduced. People will become more motivated, and they will become more efficient. Valuable contacts with major suppliers and customers remain intact. So because with every employee there is also a relation with the external environment that will remain intact, it will not change. And also it improves the employee and the employer relationship. Disadvantages. The disadvantage internal method will limit the number of resources, so they have to choose among only who are available inside the organization. So that is the limit on the choice. Then also it may increase the favoritism and nepotism. Then inbreeding, resulting in promotion of people who have developed a respect for the tradition and who have no new ideas. So there is a certain trend that goes inside. So if whoever is following that, they will be promoted. There will not be a scope for new ideas. That is the biggest problem with the internal recruitment. If a concern is extending its activities into new lines, internal candidates may prove unsuitable. Suppose if organization wants to move in a new direction, then the internal resources will not play a major role. And what are the advantage and disadvantage of the external sources? Under this method, new blood brings new ideas, fresh outlook, originality, all those things will come. The field of choice become very wide Hence there is a possibility of selecting people with a rich and varied experience. So you get a larger choice. So you can pick up people who have a very rich and varied experience from the lot. Disadvantages: if a concern makes a recruitment from external sources, its employees generally feel frustrated and their morale is adversely affected. Okay, so that is the one thing about the motivation. Present employees may lose their sense of security and become disloyal to the employer. There is a greater turnover of labor. There is a deterioration of employer-employee relationship. So those are some of the disadvantages. So once you have the recruitment plan, then comes the selection. So how you will select once all the people have applied for the job, how will make the selection. So importance of the selection process. Whereas under recruitment, the manager identifies the sources of prospective candidates and stimulates them to apply for various openings in his organization. Under selection, he compares their qualifications with the requirements of a job and eliminates all those who does not stand up to the comparison. So we have the job requirement or the job specification. We have the application with his profile. They make a comparison, and whichever doesn't meet with the requirement, those will be kept aside. There are several advantages of a proper selection procedure. As employees are placed in the jobs for which they are best suited, they derive maximum job satisfaction and reap maximum wages. So selection is a very important process. If you select the right kind of a person for the right kind of a job, he will be satisfied and he will be more productive. It is good for the organization, and labor turnover is reduced because overall efficiency has increased. So when you have the proper selection, then the overall efficiency will increase, satisfaction will increase, and the labor turnover will reduce. So what are the different steps in selection procedure? The organization need to first analyze the job, write the job description, and prepare the job specification, which we already saw. What is job analysis? Preparing the job description. Okay, so this is the process by which we come up with the job description. And job description, the result of a job analysis are set down in the job description. So whatever the result of the analysis is the job description, and it will have all the details about the what kind of a job it is. It can be lower level or higher level job description. Lower level job description means what? Every single step what the job requires is noted down or written down. Higher level is it gives a overall picture of the job. Job specification is a statement of the minimum acceptable human qualities necessary to perform the job satisfactorily. So job specification is like if you don't meet completely the lower level job description, at least job specification, this is the minimum acceptable things that organization will look for. Steps in the selection procedure. Uh, so whatever the steps which are here, this is very generic steps. It will depend on company to company how they want to have the selection procedure. But normally, what is the process is the application. First is they take the application, they go through the application thoroughly, compare with the job requirement, and whichever meets the job requirement, this first select or shortlist those application. Then they will do the initial interview, okay, of the candidate, just to check how best he can suit for the job. There would be employment test in case of IT industry recruitment. So we will have aptitude test, coding test, things like that. Okay, different kinds of tests based on whatever the job requirement. Then checking the references. So checking the references is like when you are putting your profile, that is your resume, you have to give certain references. References are the people who know you very well, okay, who can talk about you. So those are called as a references. This references becomes very important when you when you gain experience. Let's say you are 2-3 years experience, and some of the managers you have worked with, you put them as a reference who will talk about your work. So they call organization they call the references, they contact the references, and they will check how the candidate is. Physical or medical examination, if it is required, they will do the physical and medical examination to check whether he is fit or not. For all the military recruitment, you know, this is a very major step. Physical fitness and the medical examination is the important selection criteria. Then the final interview. So after final interview, you will be offered with the job. That is the selection procedure. Okay, with that, we end first module, and I told you the first module would be there for your first IA test.